When Dame Helen Mirren, a titan of British cinema and a woman who's embodied queens with unmatched authority, subtly refused to echo Graham Norton's casual reference to Prince Harry as a prince on a late 2024 episode of The Graham Norton Show, the studio audience may have chuckled, but the implications were explosive. Broadcast on February 14, 2025, the moment wasn't just a fleeting quip, it was a public dismantling of the Sussexes' fragile facade, with Meghan Markle cast as the scheming architect of Harry's fall from royal grace. Mirren's steely pause, laden with unspoken judgment, reignited a simmering controversy. Has Meghan, the American outsider turned defiant duchess, not only severed Harry from his birthright but also eroded the very title that once defined him? This wasn't gossip, it was a stark, televised referendum on Meghan's divisive reign over Harry's destiny. Mirren, who famously portrayed Queen Elizabeth II with Oscar-winning nuance, knows the monarchy's weight better than most. Her refusal to play along with Norton's jest wasn't petty, it was a pointed rejection of the Sussexes narrative, one Meghan has meticulously crafted since their 2020 exit from royal life. That departure, dubbed Megxit, saw Meghan position herself as a victim of an oppressive institution, dragging Harry across the Atlantic to a life of podcasts, Netflix specials, and Montecito mansions. But palace sources have long painted a different picture. Meghan, they say, arrived in 2018 with a Hollywood mindset, clashing with protocol and bristling at the deference expected of her. Her insistence on rewriting the royal script, think hugging aides instead of nodding politely, or pushing for autonomy over tradition, set her on a collision course with the firm, culminating in a dramatic break that's left Harry a prince in name only. Take the bullying allegations, investigated by Buckingham Palace in 2021 after staff claimed Meghan's dictatorial demeanor drove 2 aides out of Kensington Palace. She's dismissed the claims as a smear campaign, but the report, quietly shelved yet widely leaked, suggested otherwise, with one insider alleging she humiliated staff over minor errors during wedding preparations. This wasn't a one-off, her tenure as a working royal was marked by a 90% staff turnover rate, a statistic dwarfing other royal households. Contrast this with Kate Middleton, whose team has remained largely intact for over a decade, and Meghan's image as a disruptor hardens into fact. Her defenders cry misogyny, but the numbers and testimonies, corroborated by Jason Knopf, the Sussexes' own former communications chief, paint a portrait of a woman intolerant of dissent, a trait that's followed her to California. By 2025, Meghan's latest venture, as ever, a rehash of her floundering American Riviera orchard, only deepens the antagonism. Launched in January with a polished Instagram post featuring Lilibet and a logo tied to Harry's personal quirks, it's a blatant attempt to leverage royal mystique while dodging its duties. Yet the rollout flopped, sales stagnated, and critics pounced on the $25 jars of jam as tone-deaf in a cost-of-living crisis. Meanwhile, Harry's solo trip to the Invictus Games in Vancouver that month saw him visibly strained, overshadowed by Meghan's absence after a brief appearance. She'd returned to Montecito, leaving him to fend off questions about their joint projects she dominates, from scripting his speeches to steering their Archwell Foundation into a platform for her voice. It's a dynamic insiders call Meghan's monarchy, where Harry's reduced to a prop in her story. The Graham Norton moment ties this all together. Mirren's snub wasn't just about Harry's title, it was a broader indictment of Meghan's campaign to reinvent him as a woke warrior, untethered from the crown. His 2023 memoir Spare, ghostwritten yet dripping with Meghan's influence, laid bare his grievances, from Camilla's wicked stepmother label to William's alleged froideur. But it also exposed Meghan's hand. The book's digs at Kate, like the bridesmaid dress spat, reeked of her settling scores. Sales soared, yet Harry's approval rating in the UK plummeted to 23% by late 2024, per YouGov, while Meghan's hovered at 18%. The public's verdict? She's not just alienated him from his family, she's torched his legacy. Mirren's silence on Norton's show echoed a broader sentiment. Meghan's ambition has cost Harry his princely dignity. Their 2021 Oprah interview, where Meghan claimed a royal racist fretted over Archie's skin tone, was proven hollow when no evidence surfaced, yet the damage to the monarchy's reputation lingers. Her 2022 podcast Archetypes flopped despite A-list guests, netting a 2.5-star rating on Spotify for its preachy tone. Even Netflix, after axing Pearl, reportedly balked at her latest pitch, a feminist docuseries, favoring Harry's Invictus focus instead. Each misstep reinforces the charge: Meghan's not a visionary, she's a liability, dragging Harry into a quagmire of her own making. As February 24, 2025, dawns, the Graham Norton clip circulates online, racking up millions of views. Commentators dissect Mirren's pause, seeing it as Britain's cultural elite signaling what the tabloids have screamed for years: Meghan's reign over Harry has neutered his royal identity. She's not a duchess who adapted, she's a usurper who discarded the script, leaving Harry a prince in exile, unrecognized by dames and disillusioned fans alike. Mirren didn't need words, her silence said it all: Meghan's throne is built on sand, and the tide's coming in.